How you guys doing today? Jason A. Kuhn here, giving you a Fight the Deception with Christian Perception news brief for March 6, 2014. We got a lot of news today with a little time. We'll jump into it here at news.yahoo.com. Crimea votes to join Russia, accelerating Ukraine crisis. Crimea's parliament voted to join Russia on Thursday, and its Moscow-backed government set a referendum on the decision in 10 days' time in a dramatic escalation of the crisis over the Ukrainian Black Sea Peninsula. The sudden acceleration of moves to bring Crimea, which has an ethnic Russian majority and has effectively been seized by Russian forces formerly under Moscow's rule, came as European Union leaders held an emergency summit groping for ways to pressure Russia to back down and accept mediation. U.S. President Barack Obama took the first steps to punish Russians and Ukrainians involved in what he called, quote, threatening the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine, ordering the freezing of their U.S. assets and a ban on travel to the United States. The names on the blacklist were not immediately made public, but a U.S. official said they did not include Russian Parliament Vladimir Putin. The crisis in Ukraine began in November when Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, under Russian pressure, turned his back on a trade deal with the EU and accepted a $15 billion bailout from Moscow. That prompted 3 months of street protests, leading to the overthrow of Yanukovych on February 22nd. Moscow denounced the events as an illegitimate coup and refused to recognize the new Ukrainian authorities. We'll stay here at news.yahoo.com. U.S. destroyer en route to Black Sea for routine drills. A U.S. guided missile destroyer is en route to the Black Sea, but naval officials said Thursday it was a routine deployment that was planned before the crisis unfolded in Ukraine, if you'll believe that. The USS Truxtun departed the Greek port of Soda Bay Thursday to carry out joining training with the Romanian and Bulgarian forces, the U.S. Navy said in a statement. Quote, while in the Black Sea, the ship will conduct a port visit and routine previously planned exercises with allies and partners in the region, it said. The mission was, quote, scheduled well in advance of her departure from the United States, it said. Although portrayed as unrelated to tensions in Ukraine, where pro-Russian forces have taken de facto control over the Crimean Peninsula, the presence of a U.S. naval destroyer in the Black Sea sends a symbolic message to Moscow. I'm sure it does. Let's move on here to TheWire.com. Latest underwear bomber was actually a CIA spy. In a shocking revelation from intelligence sources, the suicide bomber reportedly thwarted trying to blow up a U.S. airliner last month was actually an informant who willingly turned over the bomb and a top al-Qaeda operative to the CIA. According to a report in the New York Times, the, quote, bomber was recruited by Saudi Arabian intelligence and worked closely with the U.S.'s Central Intelligence Agency to infiltrate al-Qaeda in Yemen and get close to noted bomber-making Ibrahim Hassan Asari when he learned of a newly designed explosive device meant to be passed undetected through airport security to take down a U.S.-bound airliner. The informant volunteered for the mission and was given the device, which he then handed over to U.S. officials. In addition to the intact bomb, which is now being studied by FBI explosive experts, the informant also provided key information that led to the assassination of Fahd Mohammed Ahmed Al-Qusso during an unmanned drone strike on Sunday. Al-Qusso had long been a key suspect in the bombing of the USS Cole back in the year 2000. Let's move on here to Infowars.com, an article by Paul Craig Roberts, Propaganda Rules the News. Gerald Celente calls the Western media prostitutes, an ingenious term that I often use. Prostitutes sell themselves to Washington for access and government sources to keep their jobs. Ever since the corrupt Clinton regime permitted the concentration of the U.S. media, there has been no journalistic independence in the United States except for some internet sites. Glenn Greenwald points out that independence at RT, a Russian media organization, permits Abby Martin, who denounced Russia's alleged invasion of Ukraine, compared to the fates of Phil Donahue from MSNBC and Peter Arnett from NBC, both of whom were fired for expressing opposition to the Bush's regime illegal attack on Iraq. The fact that Donahue had NBC's highest-rated program did not give him journalistic independence. Anyone who speaks the truth in the American print or TV media or on NPR is immediately fired. Russia's RT seems actually to believe and observe the values that Americans profess but do not honor. I agree with Greenwald. You can read his article here. This will be linked into the article or in the YouTube description box, so you can click on it and check out this article. Greenwald is entirely admirable. He has intelligence, integrity, and courage. He is one of the brave to whom my just published book, How America Was Lost, is dedicated. As for RT's Abby Martin, I admire her and have been a guest on her program a number of times. My criticism of Greenwald and Martin has nothing to do with their integrity or their character. I doubt the claims that Abby Martin grandstanded on Russia's invasion of Ukraine in order to boost her chances of moving into a more lucrative mainstream media. My point is quite different. Even Abby Martin and Greenwald, both of whom bring us much light, cannot fully escape Western propaganda. This is an extensive article. I highly suggest you check it out. It's filled with links for you to check out, to add to the conversation. This is at Infowars.com. Of course, like I said before, it will be linked into the YouTube description box. We have to move on here to Guns.com. New York resident charged with manslaughter after fatally shooting an armed intruder. A man living in Huntington Station, New York, appeared in court Monday to face manslaughter charges stemming from an attempted burglary back in August in which he opened fire on an armed intruder breaking into his home. Authorities say that 5 men worked together in an effort to break into Yusuf Abdel Quadhad's home, which he shares with his brother and parents. 4 of the men hid outside behind a metal shed with one man armed with a gun, went to the back sliding glass door to get inside. Break-in was caught on the family's video surveillance system, which was shared with local media. The suspect can clearly be seen slipping into the back door while holding a gun pointed toward the inside of the home. A flash can even be seen coming from the suspect's gun, which was assumed to be a shot being fired. Moments after gaining entry, the suspect runs out of the door with Abdel Quadhad close behind him, wielding a rifle. He fired 2 shots at the suspects as they all ran off, striking 33-year-old Jasmine Bryant once. Bryant later died, and now Abdel Quadhad is facing charges for second-degree manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. Wow, tongue twister. Let's move on here to FactCompany.com. The Google Glass app will detect your emotions, then relay them back to retailers. Wow. Emotions technology works by detecting subtle pattern changes in a person's face. The software, which can be used to measure emotion in individuals and crowds, can tell if a person is feeling positive or negative overall, and 0 in one or more specific emotions such as joy, sadness, surprise, anger, fear, disgust, and contempt. Through the company envisions many applications for its technology, it sees the most potential in retail, which Emoton's Glass app, which will be available to select partners and customers, retail store workers can gauge the success of a campaign or promotion. To address privacy concerns, CEO Ken Denman said Emoton's aggregates data that is anonymized, quote, "We don't store images," unquote. He told Fast Company, quote, "We basically take the data and aggregate it with other information we've taken from other individuals," unquote. But the problem is with this statement is that he's not acknowledging NSA and how they'll use this as another spy tool. Let's move on to the newamerican.com. EPA wants to snuff out wood and pellet stoves, taking steps to ensure the comfort and safety of your family and property. Wow. That will virtually end the burning of wood for heat for cooking in the United States, according to Reg Kelly, the owner and operator of Earth Outdoor Furnaces in Mountain Grove, Missouri. Quote, "There's not a stove in the United States that can pass the test right now. This is a death knell of any wood burning," unquote. The pushback is political as well. Representative Tim Romoli from Republican of Missouri happens to have a wood stove in his Royal Missouri home and is encouraging lawmakers in his state to declare that, quote, "all Missourians have a right to heat their homes and businesses using wood-burning furnaces, stoves, fireplaces, and heaters." Legislation was introduced to ban Missouri's environmental officials from regulating wood heaters unless specifically authorized by the state's legislature. Why doesn't this work on the national level? Why doesn't the legislative branch, the Congress, put the blocks to the EPA when it so clearly oversteps its bounds? The simple answer is that it is guilty of approving President Nixon's executive order back in 1970, which established the EPA in the first place. The fact that exclusive executive orders are nowhere mentioned in the Republic's founding document makes Nixon's order unconstitutional on its face, as explained by John Contrubus, a legislative attorney in the American Law Division of the Congressional Research Service. There is no exact meaning of executive orders since neither the framers of the Constitution nor Congress defined executive orders or proclamations. And executive orders, or as executive orders and proclamations, are not defined in the Constitution. There is also no specific provision in the Constitution authorizing the President to issue executive orders. Wow, we'll move on to my last article of the day here at Infowars.com by Kurt Nimmo. Missouri's teachers object to being shot during drills. Teachers in San Francois County, Missouri, have complained after they were told part of their duties include being shot at with pellet guns during, quote, active shooter drills. Officials told the teachers they would be required to wear goggles to protect their eyes. Are you kidding me? After 4 teachers contacted the prosecuting attorney's office in the state, Associate Superintendent Sarah Long told KMOX in St. Louis that teachers, quote, could sign up to work in department meetings and in other professional development opportunities instead of participating in drills they found, quote, too scary. Missouri students and teachers are required by law to participate in active shooter drills. Quote, in August 2013, the state legislature took a cue from a handful of post-Sandy Hook lawmakers, like the ones in Illinois and Arkansas, and voted to require every school district to conduct simulated shooter drills, unquote. MSNBC News reports. Drills are, quote, meant to help law enforcement craft strategies to take down active shooters, as well as to familiarize teachers with the sound of guns and teach them to act quickly. According to Missouri State Teachers Association spokesperson Tom Fuller, the issue has come up before in other school districts in the state. Quote, I think what we're going to see is a need to readdress and reevaluate the statute, he told KMOX. Wow, that's the last article I got for you guys today. I don't want to leave you without the New World Order quote of the day. Quote, my country's history, Mr. President, tells us that it is possible to fashion unity while cherishing diversity. That common action is possible despite the variety of races, interests, and beliefs we see here in this chamber. Progress and peace and justice are attainable. So we say to all peoples and governments, let us fashion together a new world order, unquote. That's from Henry Kissinger himself in an address before the General Assembly of the United Nations, October 1975. Of course, I don't want to leave you without the Proverbs of the day, Proverbs 2:6, King James only. For the Lord giveth wisdom, out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. It's all the articles and quotes I got for you guys today. I'll leave you guys off with the song that I brought you in on. This is by Disciple, titled God of Elijah.
So Elijah took 12 stones representing the 12 tribes and built 10 altars of sacrifice and dug up a trench and cut up a bowl and placed it on the wood. Put 4 jars of water.